Here it says it's setting it up. We should be going live any second. The little bar is loading. All right, we should be live. So I'm going to go and start. Welcome everyone to the first featured speaker event for Midlife to Best Life community. And please help me welcome Jill Dell, hypnotherapist, business owner, and mindset coach to the show. Jill assists people in designing a life they love. She's helped hundreds of people overcome their mindset challenges, and she helps others with stress reduction, forming positive and supportive habits, trauma release, anxiety reduction, confidence in public speaking, weight loss, smoking cessation, boosting confidence, phobia removal, and so much more. Welcome, Jill. I'm super happy to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm super happy to be here.
Yeah. So one of the things I would love is for you to explain kind of what your story is. Let me see if I can find us here. There we are. Yeah. What your story is as far as what were you doing before you became a hypnotherapist? How did you get into this line of work? What is your path a little bit?
Okay. So I actually I'd say I took a big, like a fork in the road in midlife is what happened. So prior to exploring hypnotherapy and really diving into all of the personal growth, I was actually a telecommunications engineer.
Wow.
And I worked on high capacity fiber optic networks and multiplexers. I did programming and actually did field installation, moved up from that to do troubleshooting, project managing teams. I had teams all across the United States and worked in that field for well over over a decade. And then if you add in the extra times that I worked for other companies doing other telecommunications related project management and such, almost 2 decades down underneath that, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, someone introduced me to one of those network marketing companies. And I really enjoyed it. It was a good service. I won't go into that at all. But one of the things that it did is they had these conventions or these breakout centers where they get people all hyped up. And they had this breakout session with a hypnotherapist. And I was intrigued. And so I went to go watch this hypnotherapist. And honestly, once I did my research, she's actually kind of a sleazy Las Vegas show type of hypnotherapist. But I went and I sat in his breakout session, and at one point I was so relaxed, and I'm not a real huggy, touchy, feely person, at least not until I get to know you. I'm it just is the way that I am. And even then I can count. I'm not a very touchy person until I know people. And so I'm in this portion of this breakout, he's like doing all this relaxation, and I'm leaning over on this woman that I don't know. And she's got a suit on and I've got a suit on, and I got makeup on and foundation and stuff. And I'm worrying because I'm so relaxed that I'm leaning over on her, at the time, her shoulder pad type thing. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna owe this lady dry cleaning, and I'm like, gosh, I hope I'm not drooling. And this is all going on in my head. And then he says, at the count of 3, you're gonna think that I said the punchline to the world's funniest joke. And you're gonna laugh and laugh until I tell you to sleep now, and you'll come back to this relaxed, calm state. And I'm like, no way, buddy. That is not happening. Nope, not this girl. And so he counts to 3, and I do not start laughing. But the lady that I'm leaning on, her shoulders start going up and down, and she's moving because she's laughing so hard. And I fall down. I actually hit her breast and then land in her lap. Oh, and I can't really show you because I'm on the screen. Yeah. But I'm like now completely over in her lap. And her belly, she's, is bonking the back of my head. And so that's pretty freaking funny. And so I start laughing, and I cannot stop. Now I'm laughing so hard, I know I'm probably spitting on her slacks. I definitely am crying. So my mascara is going on her pants and stuff. I'm praying that they're black and she doesn't charge me for, ruining her clothes. And he says, sleep now. And I instantly relax after like 2 minutes of laughing uncontrollably. And I'm like, oh my God, this voice in my head that I always thought that ran the show,
Yeah.
I've always thought that it was in control, and it's not. Dude, I have to learn how this works. I need to know more about this. This can be used for so much good.
Yeah.
And that's what kicked me off into hypnosis. And at first, I'd say for the first 4 years that I was going to classes and educating myself, I practiced on a lot of my family and friends. Thank you, family and friends. And now I have had a brick and mortar practice for 6 years, and it's been a really fun day. Like, I'd say that it's a fun day at the office, but now I'm kind of working from home like a lot of other people. But there is no day that is the same. There's no monotony, and it's amazing how much of my skills from my former project management and troubleshooting have actually really, really been applicable to the human mind and psyche.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I think that's one of the beauties of midlife and life in general is the more that we do, the more experience we collect, the more that we do in life, it builds upon each other. And it's not like, you could look at your past and say project management and communications and all that, and then think, how would that even apply to hypnotherapy? But it doesn't have to be a straight one-to-one application. It's the principles and it's the techniques that you learn that can apply. So it's
completely transferable skills are the bomb, right?
Definitely.
That's what being in midlife is all about.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. So I think a lot of people get stuck. And in fact, I did in the beginning. I thought, I have 20 years in project management and I don't want to do this anymore. Like, the idea of that seemed horrible. So, but I didn't know what to do because all I could think of in my mind was this tunnel vision of, well, this is what you've known for so long. This is the only thing you can do. And it's absolutely not the truth. So
I just had a session with a client, and it was actually about their career. They felt completely stuck in their career and felt like, well, there's nothing for me outside of this narrow little career. And they're in a job where it's interfering with the ability for them to actually have time with their spouse, even to the point where there's no vacation. Like, it is very like massive hours and like all these demands, and yet even though they're being paid and compensated, there's like no benefits package, no reimbursement for healthcare. There's no time off. There's all these things, and I'm like, why are you doing this? and they're like, well, I keep talking to my manager, and they keep saying that this stuff is going to go on. And after delving in a little bit more, found out that their owner, the manager of this business, is actually a brilliant salesperson. He is brilliant. And you know what he's doing? He was selling her on this being the thing to do and not doing any of the things that he said he was going to do. He's totally walking over boundaries, right? So we did a little exercise. It was maybe a 30-minute phone call. We did this exercise, completely opened her up to other new possibilities. And now she's going to be doing some mock interviews. She's checking out different types of things where her skill set can apply to these others. And it's just opened up this world of possibility for her. Because you're right, too often we actually are the ones that are creating all the blocks.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think, midlife and having a long career path is kind of a double-edged sword, because you have all this experience, but then you think, well, this is all I know. And so that's part of what creates the block. I mean, your work is so important because you help people, transform and remove those blocks. And so, yeah, I just wanted to find out if you could share a little bit about, like, what are the most typical things you see and what are the biggest surprises people have when they, like someone who's new to hypnotherapy?
Sure. So the biggest thing that I see are people coming in because their coping mechanisms or strategies are no longer working for them. So if we could use a real basic one, smoking. I'm going to use smoking. They will come in for a smoking cessation hypnotherapy appointment because they have friends or relatives that tell them how effective it is and all of that, and it's natural. They don't have to buy other stuff, whatever,
Right.
lots of benefits. So they come in, and instead of just doing a little half-hour session for quitting smoking, I will actually spend some time with them and find out why they started smoking and when it stopped working for them. And I would say, like, literally over 80% of the time, we uncover underlying issues that have been happening that are adding to the stress in their life.
Mhm.
And these habits that used to serve them and alleviate the stress are now actually adding more stress on, and they weren't even aware of it. Like, they think, oh, smoking is the problem. No, smoking is a coping mechanism for the problems that you're not addressing.
Right.
And so a lot of times people come in with what I would call like the open sore or the presenting problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take me but a few minutes of chatting with them to realize that there is more systemic issues down below. And there are issues that have been like pushed down, like they have not dealt with them for a long time, and they're bubbling up to the surface, and they come out as, oh yeah, I got to quit smoking because now I have this health issue and I have these stress things and blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, that does need to be addressed,
Right.
but that isn't the root cause of the problem. And so that is the big thing, is that normally whatever the presenting issue is, there is generally some hidden thing that's not readily available to someone, because we have all these, I'm going to call them filters on.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's like having a pop, like a helmet, and this helmet has a visor, and everything comes through this visor, and things that don't fit in with the visor go poink, and they don't even come inside, and everything else comes through this little visor, and whatever color this visor is, everything's tinted that color. So It all comes in through your beliefs and what you believe. And so anything that doesn't fit in with that goes really tink off to the sides, and everything else gets filtered in through, oh, it's my belief system. And then our mind deletes, distorts, generalizes the information, and every moment that we have is stored with different emotions of that moment, and they're perfectly preserved. Right? Perfectly preserved in the subconscious. So people think that, oh, if I keep myself busy or if I do these other things, that's never going to come back again and bite me. No, my friend. No. What happens is, at an inappropriate time, unwarranted emotions for the thing that's going on are going to trigger it, and it's going to go, and you're going to say something, or you're going to do something, you're going to overreact or whatever. It's not appropriate. And you know what I'm talking about. And then you go, well, that is the stuff that you try and deal with later. It's that big explosion is just like smoking. It's basically a presenting issue, and it's saying, hey, way down underneath here, there's things that we've repressed that need to come out and be dealt with.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Well, and you bring up a good point, because I didn't really make the connection between the fact that we have these issues that we're trying to do, whether it's weight loss or smoking, quitting smoking or whatever, and that isn't the problem.
Right.
So
that's just a symptom of the problem.
Of the problem. Yeah. Very interesting. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So how long does it take someone to usually resolve like smoking, let's say?
Well, smoking is kind of like a one and done for most people. So normally like a 1.5 hour appointment that includes the half-hour screening, and then going over what the process is, like educating them on what hypnosis is and what it isn't. Mm-hmm. And then an hour for structuring the what we call the hypnosis scripts, mm-hmm. basically, so that all of the commands that we're doing are building towards what you want, how you want your habits to support you, what habits you want to change are taken away, like those kinds of things. So smoking is relatively pretty easy, unless you're a chain smoker or there's deeper issues. Like, there are sometimes some really deeper type of issues. Mm-hmm. One time I had a woman who came into my office, and there was a significant trauma that kicked off her smoking. Mm-hmm. And so we had to deal with that trauma first, right? Yeah. So in that case, you might need one session for getting to the trauma and dealing with that. And then you might need the next session to be the smoking. And then there's also those chain smokers. And they don't have maybe they have a lot of health problems, so there's not a whole lot of coping mechanisms going on, and they haven't been able to do their hobbies. They're kind of depressed, right?
Yeah.
And when you have like something like that, it might take more than one session. I mean, geez, you've been doing something for 40 years, a couple hours of sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right?
It does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety is probably the one I think that takes the most sessions, because anxieties generally have a lot of the deeper traumas or root causes of low self-esteem and self-confidence. And so that might take a few sessions to get back to the root cause and some kind of new boundary setting and things like that are helping people set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And then so I would say, like with anxiety issues, you can generally bet on it taking at least 2 to 4-ish, appointments.
Yeah. Now, wouldn't smoking fall under anxiety?
It's a coping mechanism for anxiety, yes. For some people it is, not for everyone. Surprisingly, some people start off smoking because they have a cool uncle that, is smoking and they want to be older like their uncle at the time. And so they start smoking and they kind of do it. Sometimes they do it to model the people that they love. Sometimes they're doing it to fit in. And sometimes they're doing it as rebellion. So it really, but none of those would go towards being anxious at all.
Right. Yeah.
Those come under, there's some simple root causes for those.
Definitely. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what would you say to anyone who is watching that might think, they've had an interest in hypnosis and they would love to learn more about it, or they've avoided it because they think, well, I'm of a certain age or whatever, it's too much to try to learn. I mean,
oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I have so many stories. I actually have a friend of mine. He was at a Amaranth meeting, which is a Masonic meeting, and I'm the Royal Matron of Alki Court, number 21. Yay for the Masons. Anyway, so we were having this social, and he came to the meeting, and he says that he just had the biggest scare of his life. He was at a thrift store, and at eye level height, there was a stuffed chicken, and he's terrified of chickens. And I'm like, what? And he's talking about it, and this poor man, he's in his like 80s at this time, and he's got sweat bubbles popping out on his forehead. Like he's all the muscles are tensing up as he's telling me about this horrible ordeal. And I'm thinking, stuffed chicken? and he's like telling me about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, just sit down for a second, let's talk about this. And in 15 minutes we got to the root cause while he's sitting there talking to me. And I literally did one exercise. It took 15 minutes. Everyone around the table was there, and it removed a phobia that he had since he was about 2 years old, maybe 18 months.
Wow.
He had come to the farmhouse with his mom. His parents were second generation, and his grandparents didn't speak any English. So he couldn't understand his grandpa, and his grandpa went to butcher a chicken for dinner.
Oh.
And so he was telling his grandson what he was going to do, and set him back by the fence, and he whacks off the chicken's head, and there's blood and the chicken's running around, and it terrified him. And so he didn't even remember this memory consciously. This guy was in his 80s, right? He's been living with this fear since he was 2. Please don't wait when 15 minutes can freaking change your life so that you don't have a fear of poultry. Like, come on, right? And so it was really great, because now when he's quilting, he can use fabrics that have chickens. Like, he doesn't worry about chickens. Like, they're not something that he fears running into anymore.
Wow.
And right?
Yeah, what a story.
I know. And it's like, it's so simple of a thing to cure. Like, it could be, for you, it could be heights, it could be fear of dogs, it could be whatever. Like, oh my gosh, phobias are so easy to remove. And there's just no reason to be suffering with those. So it doesn't matter what age you are. You're that saying of an old dog can't learn new tricks. BS. Yes, I'm a half Ironman. Why? Because I learned new tricks, right? You can do whatever you set your mind to. Your mind is way more powerful than you give it credit.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's important too to let people know that you can do sessions via Zoom. Tell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was doing online sessions with people across the country prior to the pandemic, but yeah, now I'm doing a lot more of them online.
Yeah.
Um, and would it be okay for me to mention what the series was that I just did?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so so this last month in August, I decided to do a YouTube type blog for the 30 for 30 wins challenge, which is normally a health challenge, but this time I decided to gear it more towards designing a life that you love.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really encourage you, if you've ever wanted to learn more about mindset and hypnosis and all of those things, to go over and check out my YouTube channel, because it's free. You can use it, whenever you want at your own schedule. And there's actually a couple visualizations that I do there. And during that session, during the thing, one was kind of difficult. I had to cut and splice a lot. So don't look at the actual video footage, because that's kind of almost trash, but just listen to it. These crows were off in the distance at this park. They're like getting into garbage. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But the information that's there and the actual visualizations are really good. I did one about forgiveness, and then I did another one about setting your goals into your future, and they're really a great way to show how hypnosis can help you to move past some of these blocks, even just generalized.
Awesome. Let me drop this into. I'm going to drop your YouTube channel into the comments here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't mean to make more work for you.
No, you're not. No, don't worry about it. That's awesome. No, I think my biggest thing is that people follow your curiosity and your interest in life, no matter what your age is. Don't listen to the, you should do this, you shouldn't do that kind of baloney, because that, those are just false societal restrictions placed on us that we fall into and we start believing. It's like, if you're curious about something, do it. And so, I think about, I don't care if you try something new every day. I don't care if it's a new recipe, if it's a new way of doing your hair, whatever. It's like, you have to be able to switch up your life, to do new things, to grow and expand. There's no reason to look at midlife as an ending. It's a beginning.
It's true. And, just what you're saying about trying the new things,
Yeah.
you would be surprised how many people go to the grocery store exactly the same way, driving exactly the same place, looking for exactly the same parking lot, going to exactly the same checkout lines. Like, what?
Yeah.
Question if you can. One of the big things in personal development is about asking yourself a better question, right?
Right.
And so I always was like, well, what question am I supposed to ask? Like, those are like, I used to ask, well, gosh, how do I make a better question?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, now I look at things that I've been doing for a long time and I go, what's the value here for me?
Right.
Why am I doing it this way? Is there a better way? And I can't even begin to say how often I go, I don't know what, because I always have done it that way. I don't even know the reasons of why I'm doing things. And I'm like, and that's me, and I'm aware of what programming and everything goes on, right?
Right.
So definitely, you can pivot at any age, and you can definitely, change up and take these actions. And if you're afraid of the actions, that's the perfect time to reach out and say, hey, how do I do this? Is there some other ways? And exploring some of these alternatives.
Definitely. Yeah. One good example is, you mentioned that you're an Ironman competitor now. And I remember when you were starting this off, you had a fear of the swimming portion of it. Can you explain a little bit of that with your own experience? Because that's a huge thing to overcome. That's a huge, first of all, to try to become an Ironman competitor is huge, but then just everything you had to go through to get there.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yes, it started out, I had a traumatic ankle injury, and I started out walking 15 minutes a day and built up from there so that I could do the feats that I do now.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't aware of what a triathlon is, it starts out with a swim, then you go into a bicycle portion, which is normally larger than any of the other two, and then the running at the end. And so I built up to be able to do all of that, except for that whenever I get in the water, I always kind of felt like I couldn't breathe, and I didn't really understand why. So I went to the swim clinic for open water swimming, and they had people in kayaks and everything. But every time I get to the point where I couldn't see my feet or I couldn't touch the bottom, I felt really like I couldn't breathe. And I was like, geez, this is really weird. So it's a week before my first triathlon. And I still couldn't go out and swim with the big kids. And I was feeling pretty defeated, right?
Yeah.
And I come back into shore after this meeting, and I'm feeling pretty broken. And I was kind of weepy. And my husband, who is very supportive of me, he goes, honey, I think you're really brave. And I go, brave? Why do you think I'm brave? And he goes, well, you know, most people who have a near drowning experience never get out there and do it again. And I go, oh my God. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I forgot. Like, I blacked it out. Like, oh my God, I did have a near drowning experience. I have a phobia. Oh, like literally, I sat there. It was that was a Wednesday or Thursday was the open swims, and it was Saturday that was the time for the swimming thing. Yeah. So for the race, and so I didn't have much time. But I started to work on myself. I made an audio. I got to listen to my audio twice before going out. And so partway out, this woman who is now a really good friend of mine, she's a former police officer, her name's Kimberly. She's out there with another girl who is trying to get over some fears she has, and she's spotting her and my other friend now, Nanette. And so they're out there in the water with this other girl. And this one lady goes to me, you know, you need to extend your arm out more. And up until that point, I was doing great. She said, I was like, oh, and I'm like halfway through the course, and I can't see anymore. Like everything's starting to spin, the world's going dark, and I'm like, oh God, this is bad. So I flipped over on my back and I said, excuse me, you who just gave me the tips. Yeah. And she says, yeah. And I said, I am now in the middle of a full-blown panic attack. Can you please let me hold you while we go, and I'll just go on my back and I'll kick for you. And she said, sure. So she helps me finish that race. And I was so thankful to her. So I get out, and I actually placed pretty good in the race. But then by the second time that she's out, she's like, do you need me to be there? And I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. And she's like, what? Literally the next race I had was like 2 weekends away. I listened to my audio, and I was able to go out. And at one point, this one lady's she's swimming, and you know how you come out to breathe, right? And so you're out breathing, and you can look to the side. And I look to the side, and there's this woman, and this is what I see. I see her on the other side. She's terrified. And I'm like, oh, and I start to feel that panic and expand, you know, the compression and everything. And then instantly as that happened, I hear, I'm calm and relaxed in the water. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm calm and relaxed in the water. I popped up straightway, took a couple of deep breaths, and I'm like, all right. And I continued on, and I've never had a problem swimming since.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
incredible.
It's not a magic pill. It's not a magic wand. If it was, man, would my line belong to my office? But but it does shorten down the feelings. It lets you rebound from them way quicker. And normally for changing a habit or a belief, you're looking at 3 to 11 times of listening to an audio that's recorded during your session. And that's it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And now I'm doing half Ironman. And so that's almost 2 miles of swimming. And then you've got 56 miles of biking and a half marathon worth of running, which is just over 13 miles. Right. So, you know, and I was going to train for the Ironman this year in Arizona, but with the coronavirus and everything, I've opted not to. I will do my Ironman next year.
Are they still even holding it?
Well, right now, the Ironman hasn't canceled Arizona, but they've canceled everything up to it. And I'm going to, with the amount of coronavirus that's going on, and then not being able to have support stations, I'm not sure how they're going to swing that. So, yeah.
Probably, yeah. Well, awesome. It looks like we are coming up to the end of the half an hour. I don't see any questions in the chat or in the box.
Oh, darn it.
But what would you like to share with us that you haven't already touched on? I mean, it's your time.
Oh, geez. There's so much. Like, there is so much. Like, it's crazy. Like, I literally, I have so many stories to share.
Yeah.
But I don't know what your audience wants to hear. So what I would really encourage is that if you have a question, feel free to put them in the comment box or on the string of the audio thread, because I'd love to answer them. And if you want to talk to me confidentially, like if it's something that you don't feel comfortable, putting into the group thread, feel free to private message me or reach out to my website. There's a little contact form. I give free half-hour consultations. And, if I feel like hypnosis isn't a good fit for you, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
If I feel like you're going to be better served by some other path, I'll let you know, because I am truly in this for helping people. And I love helping people and letting them reach to create a life that they love. And so often, it's much easier than they thought. It's kind of funny because like I listen to my clients and we talk for a little bit, and then the rest of the time is they're sleeping. They have that meme about explain your job badly, and I'm like, well, I talk to people and they fall asleep on me, and when they wake up, they pay me.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I've known Jill for 4 years now going on, and her website Designed to Live speaks about what she's trying to do. Her heart is as big as anyone that I know. And the whole point of these featured speakers is to help everyone see how others are helping their tribe or their clients live their best life. So if you have questions, please pop them in. Jill, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I think it's been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, Carmen.
You're so
and
welcome.
I absolutely love being in this group.
Yeah, it's fun. All right. Well, with that, we will say adieu. See everyone later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.